Om, Om, Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinav Dhitamastu Visavahai. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. बोलिए श्री सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय. हर नमः पार्वती पतये हर हर महादेव. Welcome to this new episode of Chinmaya Yoga. Today's topic is Satsanga. Sat means truth and Sangha means group, a holy communion or a communion of people where everybody speak the same thoughts and think the same thoughts about development. Think the same thoughts about development. Satsanga. So, what is the purpose of satsanga? Well, what is the need for satsanga? Whenever we in this whole chapter on Hasten Slowly, Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda ji speaks. Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda ji spe- Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda ji speaks about people who are trying to meditate, who are on the path of sadhana and able to sustain that tempo of the sadhana. For some reason, they slip and fall. For them, the only resort or the only way is satsanga, not making progress or stagnating uh, in our spiritual path. It is a fact that many are disappointed in their spiritual attempts and they find themselves often worse off than they were before, even after years of daily meditations. Such sad failures in the many are primarily due to unpreparedness to merit an entry into the higher realms of consciousness. So, one thing is to focus on making the mind pure, and then as we enter higher realms of consciousness, there is only those with a pure mind can even enter that space of consciousness. So until we get to that point, there is always the scope for fall from that space. Again, even after full preparedness, some may find themselves for long too stagnant without moving ahead and reaching out in the soaring climbs to experience the promised fullness in spirituality. This is essentially a sign of the meditator getting entangled with his own subtle attachments and with the outer world of objects and with his own inner world of emotions and thoughts. So, what are the ways by which we get attached? The outer world of objects means the object of sight, the object of sound, the object of smell, the object of taste, and the object of touch. The inner world of emotions and thoughts means when somebody speaks to us, there is an emotional upsurge to respond or to react. There is always some sorrow, some pain, some suffering, some anger, some jealousy. These kind of thoughts, these kind of feelings emerge in us. Then there are those different types of thoughts all the time. Shall I do this? Shall I do that? Is this the right thing? Or why did that person say this? These are all many, many different thoughts that keep passing through our mind. When we identify with those thoughts, when we identify with those feelings, and when we identify with those objects that we experience, the mind gets entangled and whatever sadhana we have done so far, it seems like there is a block and we are not able to make much progress in our life. The mind must first become fully detached from its delusory preoccupations with its own worldly inhibitions, or else it will not be able to move from the sheltering base to the serene peaks. The base is always nice. The base is a comfort zone for the mind. The base of this world, the base of all the objects, the base of all the thoughts and emotions provide a comfort zone for the mind, and the mind is very happy to stay there. But as long as we want to be concentrated on some high goal in our life, as if we want to move ahead in spiritual thought, in spiritual progress, then we have to move out of the baseline and work towards the spiritual heights. So what is the way for the person to work towards such spiritual heights? Gurudev here says one must constantly strive to detach one's mind from all its play, performed in its false and exhausting identifications with the matter vestures. He who seeks constantly to detract the mind from its functioning in the not self, anatma, by lifting his thoughts to the contemplation on the self, is called a true striver or udyoga bhagi, one who does udyoga. Udyoga is ud yoga, raising myself. Udyoga normally means work. When I am working in something, I am working in a company or I am working in an office, then I am said to be in an udyoga. Udyoga means as actually rising from the present mean levels to the higher states of spirituality is udyoga. If we want that udyoga in our life, then the only way is to, now we are attached to sense objects, we are attached to thoughts, and we are attached to words, we are attached to actions, and we are attached to our feelings. So being detached from those thoughts, words, actions, and feelings, and all the sense objects that assail our senses moment to moment is called Udyoga, detachment. He who seeks constantly to detract the mind. Everything else is anatma. Atma means I. When we say, I am going, I am coming, I am sitting, I am talking, I am hearing, the I that we use is Atma. But unfortunately, for 99.99% of the human beings in the earth, this I equals to the body. That is where body, mind, and intellect. The body, mind, and intellect are not I, because anything that can be born, that can decompose after some time, is not what is I, is not what is eternal. So, detaching from what is not I and attaching to that real I in us, or identifying with that self in us, the consciousness in us, is called Anudvegavan, without excitement, being an Udyoga Bhagi, being attached to consciousness and having no agitations or temptations to participate in the world of objects, emotions, thoughts, words, and feelings, one who is a steady striver. Being a steady striver and working towards that high goal of spirituality is called Udyoga Bhagi. Even when a meditator has successfully detached his mind from almost all objects and is steadily striving to uplift his mind into steady contemplation, often we find that he who has progressively proceeded on this path suddenly becomes dispirited. We see many a night, many a dark night before the morning. We are tormented by dark moments in our life. We are tormented by deep thoughts. We are tormented by disturbances. We are tormented by our problems and our worries. How to get out of all these? How to be free of all these, which are very cyclical in nature? Constantly they keep moving round and round. The nature of life, caught in movement and change, is cyclical. And the cyclical movement is from birth to death, from manifestation to going into the unmanifest. Is a cyclical path. When we follow the cyclical path in life, we will always remain in the cyclical path. We will always be as if we are in constant movement, but we will be like a person who is tied, who is on a boat, and the boat is tied to the shore on a peg through a long rope, and the rope is quite long that it seems as if the man is rowing the boat. As if the man is rowing the boat, the rope is very long, and it looks like as if he is going very far. But actually, what happens is he thinks he gets onto the boat at night and he's seeing the full moon and he begins to row the boat. He's fully drunk. And then he seems to go far away, turning around in that boat. And finally, when he is become sober in the morning, he looks up. He sees that he is only at the same place where he started. He has not moved anywhere because the rope is tied to the peg. It is on the bank, and this person has just been moving in a semicircle around the bank of the lake. In the same way, if we do not detach ourselves from the world of objects, emotions, and thoughts, we will be caught in this movement and change, in the cyclical movement and change, and never can ex, uh, experience freedom, and never can we move ahead spiritually. So, to realize through one's own self criticism what were the causes in oneself for the experienced fall is to rediscover the required energy to get up and start moving oneself again on the path. So, when I fall from the path of spiritual progress, when I fall from the path of sadhana, what can I do? I have to just sit quietly and analyze what is the reason for the fall without judging myself, without being overly critical of myself, but gently being aware of what are all the loopholes that made me fall. And when I do this, the very action of finding out where is the loophole gives me so much of an energy that the loopholes get plugged and I again move on the path of spirituality. So Gurudev here says, what is the way to do that? There are some who will fall, who will fail to catch the theme. So even Adi Shankaracharya, Bhagavan says, this path of spirituality, this path of yoga is very tough indeed. It is, uh, it is not so easy for everybody, but it is attainable by everybody because if somebody has attained, everybody can attain it. So the path of yoga to reach the temple at the peak of yoga, of spirituality, what happens is some people will not understand the theme. The, the others will understand, will remember, but when the moment comes, they will forget it again. There'll be long periods of how can this be healed? How can this be corrected? Long periods of repeated contact and discussions with the saints and sages, sadhu sangama, are recommended for both types, says Sri Adi Shankaracharya. Whether we are not able to understand what it is that we are searching, what it is that we have to attain and achieve, or whether we somewhat understood but have again lost track of that. For both types of people, the only way to get back on track, the only way to get onto the path is sadhu sangama, or being in the company of the holy ones, being in the company of the masters, being in the company of yogis, being in the company of rishis. When we are in those people's company, then we will be able to stay on track. One thing, even if we swerve from the path, they will help us to put us back on the path. And one who is thus sincerely putting forth the right effort is assured of help from an unknown power. What is that unknown power? God's unfailing grace. God's grace is never absent at any point of time. Not even in any moment of time is God's grace absent. But we do not understand the presence of God's grace at all time, and that is the reason why we are not able to access the grace of the divine. When, when we are moving away from the path, especially when we are moving away from the path, we are unable to detach ourselves from the world of objects, emotions, and thoughts. We are unable to connect ourselves to that conscious presence within, the life within, the truth within. So the help of sadhu sangama, the help of great people, noble people, will help us to put us back on the path. Regardless of the efforts, one who strives to rest his thoughts steadily in the Supreme Self, Parama Dharma, him the Lord blesses. Who God blesses those people who God blesses those people who are able to go on the path, who are able to rest in Him, who are able to take that support of that Bhagavan who is present at all times. These are the verses from Yoga Vasishta. Akhedena mano nirodhe paradharme pravartamanam yoginam ishvaraha. Surrender to that Ishvara without any disturbance of mind. There is a Bhagavan who is always available to support us on this path where our mind needs to be very quiet, to be attached to the right place and detached from what is wrong and what is not necessary. So, this continuous and regular sadhana done for a long time can all add up in its imperceptible accumulation to be a great magazine of power, which must all of a sudden rocket the mind of the sadhaka to surprising heights of brilliant meditations. This is Lord's grace in full manifestation in the seeker. Gurudev is taking the example of a rocket. So when the fuel in that engine of the rocket is triggered, when the fuel is full, the rocket just takes off. The rocket just takes off and it goes into the highest space with ease. In the same way, the Lord's grace is that fuel which will help the mind to rocket into the highest zones of spirituality. As the result of our diligent and sincere efforts, when we seem to have for once persuaded the restless mind away from all its enticing objects outside, still we cannot say that all the problems of the seeker are totally solved. So it is not by our efforts that anything is solved. If our problems are solved, it is not because of our efforts. It is because of the presence of that divine grace that we are able to make any progress. At any level of life, wherever we are, if we are making progress, it is not because of our efforts, it is despite our efforts by the help of divine grace. If when that thought is there and we continue to do our sadhana, divine grace is always available to push us higher and higher on the path. Even Adi Shankaracharya ji many a times speaks of the importance of satsanga in the Bhaja Govindam. There are very two beautiful verses. One is very famous. Satsangatve nisangatvam nisangatve nirmohatvam nirmohatve nishchalatatvam nishchalatatve Jivan Mukti. Satsangatve, when I am engaged in satsanga, even modern day science says, if you want to come out of bad habits, if you want to come out of destructive habits, the only efficient way is to connect with people who have good habits or to connect with all the people who want to give up that habit and remain in a good habit. So that is the way, that is called satsanga. If I want to get into the habit of attaining heights in spirituality, then I must get into satsanga. When I get into satsanga, what happens? Nissangatvam. There is an immediate detachment from the world of objects, emotions, and thoughts. I am clasping these objects, emotions, and thoughts, thinking all the time that these objects of the senses, the emotions that I experience in the mind, and the thoughts that I experience in the intellect are what are giving me joy. When I am in satsanga, the mind is turned inwards towards the spirit, towards the self, because everybody's mind is focused on the self, and we are actually not in this physical body alone. We are in every human being. So when a large gathering of people are concentrated and thinking about one thought, then it is very easy to detach from the world of objects, emotions, and thoughts and attach to that self, at least for that moment of half an hour or 1 hour that we are remaining in the satsanga. With constant practice of being in a satsanga, meaning satsanga necessarily does not mean always being in a group of people and singing bhajans or listening to some shravanam. Even if you are quietly remaining with yourself in quiet meditation or in quiet contemplation or reading a book with an author who is taking us to such heights of knowledge and meditation, that is also satsanga. Satsanga can be practiced in many ways. So, Nisangatva means we detach from the world of objects, emotions, and thoughts and we attach to the self. Gurudev's one line Vedanta is attach, detach, and attach. First, detach from the world of objects, emotions, and thoughts and attach to that pure consciousness, the self. And then spiritually, we can see progress. Nisangatve nirmohatvam. When I detach, nissanga means attachment, nissanga means detachment. Detaching from my own thoughts, detaching from my own feelings, detaching from my own bodily experiences of pain or irritation, whatever I experience in the body, heat and cold, pain and pleasure, from all these types of feelings coming from the body, when I detach, then automatically I am free of the consciousness of the awareness of the body, of the mind and intellect, and of the numerous thoughts that are present in the body, mind, and intellect. So when I'm free, I'm able to focus on what I really want to do. Nisangatve nirmohatvam. Nirmoha means there is no delusion. Moha means the thought that I am this body is called moha. Nirmoha means I am that pure self is being free from this thought of I am the body. That is nirmoha. Nirmohatve. What happens when I do not have any moha or any delusion? I am not having the thought, I am not attached to the thought that I am the body. I'm not attached to the thought that I am the mind. I'm not attached to the thought that I am the intellect. What happens? The mind becomes nischala. Nischala means there is no movement in the mind. Even the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, the very second verse says, Yogaha chitta vritti nirodhaha. Recently, I was observing a bucket of water. The bucket was given a push, and then the water was swaying. After some time, the surface level of the water stopped. It became steady, but the undercurrent of the water was moving up and down beneath the surface, and this was still causing disturbances in the surface level. Never stopped because for a long time the movement of the water beneath the surface never allowed it to stop. So in the same way, nischala means the mind is not just controlled, and it is not just that I am having a steady thought which stops the surface level of the mind. Even the inner levels of the mind, where the movement and change has caused a great disturbance in the subconscious mind, even those disturbances are removed and the mind completely becomes quiet. Nischala tattvam. Nischala tattve. What happens when the mind becomes quiet? Jivan muktihi. The life within me is become free. The life within me becomes free means it is not the state of death. It is a state of expanded life. It is a state of joy. It is a state of satisfaction. It is a state of abundance. Whatever I have, I experience in abundance. There is no limitation to my experience. And this state of mind, this free state of mind, relieves me of all pain and suffering, because it relieves me even from my attachment to the body, mind, and intellect. So that is a state of Jivan Muktihi. And in another verse also, he says, Kate Kanta Dhanagata Chinta Vatula Kim Tava Nasti Niyanta Trijagati Sajjana sangatireka bhavati bhavarnava tarane nauka. So both the points that Gurudev has pointed here, one is surrender to Bhagavan, to Ishvara, and the other is being in Satsanga. These are the two ways by which we can detach our minds from the objects, emotions, and thoughts of the world, and we can attach our mind to the Supreme. What is that? Adi Shankaracharya asked his disciple, Kate Kanta, who is your wife? No, who is your beloved? Dhanagata Chinta, all the time your mind is behind money, being attached to money. Vatula, oh dear little child, my dear child, Kim tava nasti niyanta? Is there nobody to control you? Meaning, there is a boss above you. That boss is a very gentle boss. That boss is a very great boss. That boss provides for all your well being and welfare. He is your niyanta. He is your administrator. He is your controller. When that boss is there within you and around you, why are you always going behind money? Why do you want money? You want to live happily. For that happy living, money will come, food will come, clothing will come, house will come, people will come. Everything that we need will come, provided we decide to be happy. Vatula kim tava nasti niyanta. Adi Shankaracharya is asking with a tinge of anger, Nasti niyanta, don't you have anybody to control you or what? All the time going behind money? He is asking. And then he says, what is the one that in all the three worlds, three jagati, sajjana sangati hi eka, in all the three worlds, in the world of waking consciousness during our daytime, in the world of dreams, and in the world of deep sleep, Trijagati, Sajjana Sangatihi. It is only the Sangati. Samyak Gati means the right movement, the proper movement, and going towards Sajjana. Sajjana means people who are good, people who are dedicated to higher values, people who are dedicated to improving themselves and going ahead, going higher and higher in their life, in their yogic life or in the spiritual path. Yogic life means a life where you bring the mind to a state of quietude, is a yogic life. Spiritual path is a life where you seek the source of that mind, the source of that self which is within, which is you. Trijagati, Sajjana, the third world, Trijagati is one is the waking state, the other is a dream state, and the third is a deep sleep state. In all the three states, Trijagati, Sajjana Sangatihi, going towards the group of Satsanga, Eka, that only one, Bhavati, Bhava Arnava Tarane Nauka. That is the boat which helps us to cross Bhava Arnava. Bhava means existence. What is Bhava? Bhavati iti asmin bhavati iti bhavaha. I am living in this world. That is called Bhava. We are all jantus. Asmin Janmani bhavati iti jantu. All human beings are in bhava. Bhava samsara. Samsara means constant change. This earth itself is changing. It is moving every moment. If you observe the sunlight, the shadow keeps changing. How is it changing? Because the earth is moving, the moon is moving, the clouds are moving, the wind is moving, the heat pockets are moving, different heat pockets at different points of time. The temperature is constantly changing, and then the humidity is changing, the pressure of air is changing, the coarseness of the soil, the heights and the depths of the soil, everything is changing. Everything around us is constantly changing moment to moment. That is called bhava. Bhavati, Bhava Arnava, Samsara. Samsara means Arnava is ocean. That ocean of change, Bhavarnava. If I have to cross an ocean, it is very difficult to swim. Even if I am an ace swimmer, I cannot go such long distances. I will feel tired, I will feel hungry, I will feel thirsty. It is very difficult to drink that ocean water. Bhavati Bhava Arnava Tarane Nauka. Nauka means the boat. I just have to sit on the boat and I have to move on that boat across the ocean of samsara. And what is that boat? This is called Satsanga. Many a time you would have had this experience, even I've had this experience. We might go on a pilgrimage, we might go to an ashram, or many people who are all in the same group or satsanga may travel together to some temple on a big yatra. And in that bus or that train, in that coupe or the compartment, will be filled with all people who are all in that same path of devotion or with the same guru or to the same destination to that religious pilgrimage. And throughout the journey, we have always seen that there will be a lot of sharing, there will be caring, everybody will give each other food, everybody will serve each other, and if anybody is feeling sad, somebody will come to their help. And constantly from morning till night, even if there are other people in the bus or train, unmindful of the presence of others, we will have our own religious practices. We will sing our bhajans, chant shlokas, do our prayer, meditate, so much so that throughout the journey in the train or bus, we never even realize that we have traveled such long distances, and everything becomes so joyful and so much fun because the whole same group of people are there doing the same thing for the whole 2 days, and we never realize the passage of time. We know the moment we got in, and then the moment we have to get out, we are there into that place of pilgrimage or the ashram or the place where we want to go. This is the power of satsanga. It can make us forget other things in life. It can make us forget other thoughts in life. It can make us forget time. It can make us forget our pain and sufferings. Bhavati Bhava Arnava Tarane Nauka. It does not only make us forget something, it makes us remember the Lord at all times. It makes us remember the self at all times. It makes us even for joke's sake, what if suppose somebody is complaining about some person and a third person comes there and that is a satsanga, then they said this person has never changed. This person in those days he was like this, even now he continues to be like this. And a third person will enter into the conversation. Actually, the conversation is tending towards gossip and tending towards complaining. But in a satsanga, what will happen? They will not change because everybody is Atma and the Atma never changes. So they will introduce the statement and the conversation will take a very spiritual turn. So Trijagati, Satjana, Sangatihi, Eka. Eka means there is no other way. There is only one way. Even Swami Vivekananda says, forget your own individual realization, forget your own working for your individual emancipation. Work for the satsanga. With the satsanga, the emancipation is very easy, realization is very easy, and spiritual growth is very easy because even if we rise and somewhere we have to fall, we may fall, but the satsanga will never allow us to fall so deeply that we cannot rise again. They will always give us the right knowledge and the right support that we are again on the path of spiritual truth and yogic quietude of mind. Thus, we compromise with our ideal in seeking the temporary gratification of some passing whim of our mind. On such occasions, the usual justification that it is a necessary evil. Gurudev says, many things you say necessary evil, a necessary evil very soon becomes more and more necessary. And as we repeat the evil again and again, it is found to become less and less evil in our judgment. Something that is very bad if we are alone, something that is not very good for us, we take it up and then it becomes compulsory, like how mobile phones and laptops and everything else have become necessary evil in our life. Even though it is we considered it evil once upon a time, it has become so necessary that it's even become very good and we cannot live without it. Be alert, be vigilant, avoid all compromises, be firm on the principles of self control, never compromise, yield not to the mind's charms, find them down, keep cheerful, turn the mind to the Lord in devotion, cry out to help from the Lord and teacher, sing his glories, repeat your mantra, chant the verses of the Guru Stotram. Very beautiful. The Adi Shankaracharya's Bhajra Govindam says, devotion to the Guru will take you to that space where you want to be, where you wish to be. Guru Charanambuj Nirbhara Bhaktaha Samsaradya Chirat Bhava Muktaha Sendriya Manasa Niyamadevam Drakshasi Nija Hridayas Tam Devam. Guru Charana Ambuja Nirbhara Bhaktaha. Fill your heart with love for the Guru's lotus feet. Then what happens? Samsarat. Samsara means the constant ocean of movement and change. Achirat bhava muktaha. You will be free of samsara. After that, what do you do? Sa indriya manasa niyamat evam. With your sense organs and mind, niyamat drakshyasi nija hridayastam devam. You will really see that truth, the self, the consciousness that is in your own heart. You will be able to see when you control your sense organs and have love for the Guru who will quiet your mind. So, that is a way to achieve that goal. Stop not till the goal is reached. Success is sure to the sincere. Remember to hasten but slowly. Go fast on this path, meaning be consistent on this path, but always go slowly on this path. Never be agitated and never try to achieve it by shortcuts. There is no shortcut to spiritual self realization, the path of yoga and jnana. Om 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 Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamasorma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. बोलिए श्री सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय. हरि ओम.